Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Magical Book. I'm Alex, your host, and today I've got a special guest with me, Maya, a language coach and an expert in helping people switch from their native language to thinking in English. Welcome, Maya.
Thanks, Alex. I'm excited because thinking in English is a real challenge for many learners. If you're tired of translating everything in your head and feeling stuck, today's episode is for you. We're going to show you how to break free and start thinking in English like a native. Stay with us, it's going to change how you approach the language.
Great to have you, Maya. So, thinking in English, it sounds simple, but it's one of the biggest challenges for language learners. Why is it so important?
It's crucial, Alex, because thinking in English can drastically improve your fluency. When you're able to think in the language you're speaking, you can respond faster, speak more naturally, and understand others better. It's like shifting from a bicycle to a car. You start moving faster and smoother.
I love that analogy, but for many learners, their first instinct is to think in their native language and then translate. Why is that approach problematic?
Well, translation is a natural first step, but it can slow you down. Different languages have different structures, idioms, and cultural contexts. So when you translate, you're not just switching words, you're trying to fit one language into the mold of another, and that often doesn't work smoothly. It can lead to awkward phrasing and misunderstandings.
That makes sense. So, how does one start thinking in English? What's the first step?
The first step is immersion. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. It could be through watching our Magical Book YouTube channel, TV shows, listening to podcasts like this one, or even reading books. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it becomes.
Immersion sounds powerful, but what if someone doesn't live in an English-speaking country? Can they still achieve that level of immersion?
Absolutely. Technology makes it easier than ever. You can join online communities where English is spoken, like social media groups or even online games. Engaging with others in real time forces you to think in English because you don't have the luxury of time to translate. And if you're looking for something more structured, taking our repeat after me sessions is a great option. It's like having a partner to practice with, helping you to think and respond in English on the spot.
That's a great point. So, once someone has that exposure, what are some practical exercises to help them start thinking in English?
One effective exercise is internal monologue. Throughout your day, try to describe what you're doing or what's happening around you in English. For example, when you're cooking, think to yourself, "Now I'm chopping the onions. Next, I'll heat the pan." It helps you get used to processing thoughts in English.
I like that. It's like narrating your own life.
Exactly. Another technique is to set aside a few minutes each day to write a journal in English. It doesn't have to be long, just a few sentences about your day, your thoughts, or something you learned. This forces your brain to organize your thoughts in English, which can be a big step toward thinking in the language.
That's a good one. What about speaking? Should learners practice speaking to themselves in English too?
Definitely. Speaking out loud, even if you're alone, is very helpful. Try describing things around you, like "This is my laptop. It's black and silver," or rehearse conversations you might have, such as ordering food at a restaurant. And yeah, focusing on this part. Our channel always tries to provide you with real-life scenarios. For example, we've got an episode on exactly how to order food in English. You can watch that to practice along with us and build your confidence in everyday situations.
What would you say to someone who feels self-conscious about speaking English, especially when they're alone?
It's completely normal to feel that way, but remember, practice is key. If you're worried about others hearing you, start in a private space. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become. And if you make mistakes, that's okay. Mistakes are part of the learning process.
That's reassuring. I imagine that consistency is important here too, right?
Absolutely, Alex. Thinking in English is a habit, and like any habit, it takes time and consistency to develop. Even just 10 minutes a day can make a big difference over time.
One last question. Maya, what about people who feel like they're too advanced or too beginner to start thinking in English? Any advice for them?
For beginners, start small. Use simple sentences, even if it's just naming objects around you. For advanced learners, challenge yourself by thinking in English about more complex topics like politics, philosophy, or personal reflections. There's always room to grow.
Fantastic advice, Maya. Thanks so much for joining us today and sharing these practical tips. I'm sure our listeners will find them super helpful.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Magical Book. Remember, thinking in English might feel challenging at first, but with consistent practice and the right strategies, it'll become second nature.
Now let's learn some interesting vocabulary words from the story for better understanding.
Here's a vocabulary list that we learn in this story. Let's practice together.
If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, like, and share it with others who are on the same journey. And don't forget to check out our other videos for more practical tips and real-life practice sessions. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and stay curious.